So in a recent episode of his Nintendo podcast, BeatEmUps said there's going to be a Nintendo Direct in July. Now, let me be clear. This is not me saying that he's lying. Okay, I'm not like saying, oh, Wood is lying. But we've all seen this play out before. Okay, anyone could say, I have a source and drop a list of predictions. Anybody could do it on their end. You can do it, I could do it, we all could do it. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. If it ends up being right, cool. But until then, let's keep our hype and expectations in check here. So according to this leak, here's what's supposedly coming. And I'm sure you have already seen all the other people that talk about Nintendo Switch 2 talk about this. But I'm giving my thoughts, all right? Metaphor ReFantazio will be shown, according to this leak. In my opinion, this makes the most sense because it's an Atlas game, and these usually show up on Nintendo platforms. They got a good relationship with Nintendo Switch. Plus, this game did really good. It sold really well. If it goes on the Switch 2, it's just going to sell even more at this point. It's a no-brainer. Next, we got GameCube Shadow Drops. This is also the most likely. Right now, we just have 3 GameCube games, so that's to be expected. If we get a Direct, we're going to be getting another GameCube drop or 2. Pokémon Colosseum is the rumor here. Regardless of what happens with the GameCube games, they need to start putting these babies out there. They need to give us incentive for having the expansion pack. I feel Nintendo's been dropping the ball on Switch Online. They're not putting enough games on there. We're not. When's the last time we got like an NES release on there? It's been a while. What about GameCube? You know, that just came out. We got to have that built. There's some great games out there. Mario Strikers, Luigi's Mansion, Pokemon Colosseum, you name it. There's plenty of games out there. I hope they don't take their sweet time and just release one every once in a while. We got to get like at least another 3 dropped here, in my opinion, to cause hype for it. They could have hit it so much harder for the Switch 2. Could you imagine if they would have had like 10 games on there for launch? People would have ate it up. Now, Death Stranding Director's Cut S Edition is coming. That S is supposedly for a Switch-specific version with exclusive content, maybe even some Nintendo-themed items like we saw on PC with Half-Life. As of right now, this is still a PlayStation-exclusive game, but if it makes its way to Nintendo consoles, I think that's a big win right there. I'm not a big fan of this game. I thought it was kind of weird, kind of slow-paced. But could you imagine if this is the first of many PlayStation games to make its way over to Nintendo consoles? This is bigger news than we thought. If this actually happens and it's a decent port, I have a feeling that it might be a little bit underwhelming since it's a S edition. But if it's a good port, if it's solid, if it looks great, plays great, this could open the door to Pandora's box immensely in regards to PlayStation games coming over. Now we got Witcher 3 Switch 2 Edition on the list, which I feel is inevitable at this point. CD Projekt Red just brought Cyberpunk 2077 out to the Switch 2, and they're impressed with the hardware. Cyberpunk runs great. I still have a video coming out about it. Witcher 3 is a game that they've been supporting for over a decade at this point, and it came out on the Switch OG. It was awesome there. I feel that if we get a Switch 2 upgrade that boosts it up immensely, it's going to be awesome. Okay, if you haven't played Witcher 3, I don't know what you're doing with your life at this point, but you need to check it out. Apparently, there's a big tease for a Metroid Prime 4 release date on here. Maybe even a short Animal Crossing teaser for a 2026 release. Supposedly featuring Isabelle on screen with just a card. I don't know. Again, the list that was on there is a little bit more detailed. A lot of it seems like well wishes, but for the most part, what we've pointed out on here, like Witcher 3, Death Stranding, GameCube, and Metaphor, that sounds pretty reasonable in my opinion. Those sound like actual, real likely candidates. Okay, now this is all based on the leak that BeatEmUps is saying. And again, not confirming it's real, okay? Just laying out what's claimed. Because again, anybody could make up a source. Not saying that's what's being done here, but anybody could also feed you lies too. Anybody can email and contact and be like, hey, this is what's happening for the leak. I just know that it's radio silent for sure with the Nintendo Direct situation. I think it's because the game console just came out. It seems like it might be a little too soon. We just had a Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct. They're focusing on Donkey Kong Bonanza. For all we know, maybe they're just going to wait till September to clue us in on some big Nintendo Direct presentation right here. That way we can get some third parties and some indies. I'm curious why we haven't been seeing indies flooding the actual Switch 2 console. We're seeing Switch OG indies come out on the eShop, but where are the Switch 2 specific games? That's what I'm worried about. Where's this eShop support that we saw on the Switch OG for the Switch 2? Everything is just a Switch 1 game that's in there. And again, let's break this whole situation, this whole rumor logically. Let's be fair. Some of these games, like I said, make sense. Okay, Nintendo is overdue for a full Switch 2 showcase. They launched the hardware, but we still don't have a proper look at the full lineup for late 2025. Okay, there's still a lot of questions. What's coming in the fall? What's coming in the winter? We don't have any info about that wheelchair game. What is it, Dragon Drive or Dragus Drive? What is it? The weird one, the Ricky Berwick game? Hyrule Warriors, Kirby Air Riders, Splatoon Raiders. Where are the solid release dates for several of these games? Where's Metroid Prime 4 footage at this point? Is that game even still coming out this year? That game's never going to come out. That's like the Switch version of GTA 6. July Direct, I feel, would line up perfectly with Nintendo's history. The original Switch launch, they followed up a month later with a full Direct in April that came out March 3rd. April, we had a full Direct. So if they're repeating that timing, a July Direct isn't necessarily out of the question. But again, just because something is plausible doesn't mean it's confirmed. And we're just speculating at this point. So let's go back to Wood real quick, okay? Some fans believe he wouldn't say this unless he knew it for sure. But many influencers, again, like I said, throw around vague claims like this only to be wrong. And even if it's true this time, what's the source? A developer, another YouTuber, someone from CD Projekt Red? Who knows, right? But it's all speculation at this point until we see actual proof or Nintendo says something themselves. I'm treating this like any other rumor with a grain of salt. No disrespect to BeatEmUps, no disrespect to anybody that leaks. We've seen this. I even like to talk about it. I like to talk about leaks. I like to talk about rumors, but I always say take it with a grain of salt. Take it as a rumor, and that's just that. And there's nothing wrong with talking about rumors, guys. Video game magazines used to do that all the time. It's perfectly fine to speculate and talk about stuff, but you got to temper your expectations, okay? Nobody's guaranteed this. So here's the reasonable windows that I think, as far as this Direct can go. Early July, I think, seems unlikely. We're not getting one like in the next 7 days. It would be too soon after the Switch 2 rollout. Mid-July, between the 8th to the 16th, seems like the sweet spot, in my opinion. Late July could be tricky because we got Pokemon Presents coming around the 24th, according to rumor. So I think if it's going to happen, mid-July is probably the safest bet if this Direct is real at all. And I'd love to be surprised, guys. I want to see Metroid Prime 4. I want to see updates of some of these games, a proper Witcher 3 upgrade. But for now, I'm keeping the expectations low. If Wood ends up being right, good for him. But remember, anyone could say a Direct is coming. Eventually, one of them will be right. You just throw a whole bunch of darts on the board. One of them will stick, right? It's basically like predicting rain. Okay, it's going to rain today? No. Yes or no? It's a 50-50 chance. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you buying this leak or are you on Team Skeptic with me? And if you enjoy this kind of breakdown, hit the like, the subscription, all that stuff. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching.